Hello once again everyone, welcome back to another vlog. This time round I'm going to be talking about a show that I've recently been addicted to called Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's basically an anime, and it's not the first anime I've watched, but I would say it's the first anime I've watched. That does not make sense, but it depends on what you call anime, really. Because obviously I've watched Ruby, which is the Rooster Teeth sort of animated thing, and it is that sort of is Western anime. And I've also watched Pokemon and Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is technically sort of cartoonish, but I would also consider them two properties to be anime-like, because they follow the standard format of anime, other than being, obviously all three of them have English voices. I've also watched some anime films like Hard Luck, and a couple of others I think, but yeah, but this is my first sort of shot into the anime regions of TV programming. I plan on watching quite a bit more of it because it's pretty damn good, and I've got a few other things on my list that I want to watch, and then I think I might get in Crunchyroll, because obviously I watched this on Netflix, but Crunchyroll is the Netflix, well, the anime Netflix basically. It's got a shit ton of anime. You can watch up to date shows and all that sort of stuff. So if it airs in Japan, it'll air the same night or it'll be up on the same night or pretty soon after on Crunchyroll, which is a good thing if I get into different shows and stuff. And to continue watching them, and they're still on air. But yeah, so basically I watched Brotherhood, this Fullmetal Alchemist. It's like, was it 5 months? 64 episodes or 62 episodes? Somewhere around there. 60 odd episodes, and each are roughly about 25 minutes each. And it basically tells the story of two young-ish, well, teenage boys, basically. One called Edward Elric, Elric, and his brother Alphonse, or Al, I'll just call him Al. So basically, these two boys live with a mother, and learn that they've got these alchemy skills. Alchemy is basically, it's kind of like magic ish, and it's basically like they have these talents to create objects relatively out of nothing, but obviously it works on equivalent exchange. So if they create something else has to be given for it, kind of deal. And they can do attacks and all this sort of stuff. With that, basically, it's just really cool dynamic for the show is this alchemy stuff, and their use of it. It's like creation, reconstruction, and destruction are the sort of pillars for that. So they learn that they can do that, and so they basically start training and stuff, and have a sensei slash teacher, who's a female, who's been doing that for a number of years, come and teach them a lot of stuff, and teach them how to fight as well, and that's pretty damn cool, to be honest. And it's just all excellent and shit, but obviously that's all in the past, and you learn about all this sort of stuff through flashbacks and stuff. And then their mother dies, and the father's already got off because he's a famous alchemist, and kind of he's different. I'll get to him in a little bit, but yeah. So their mother's dies, and then from their research they know about human transformation. It's basically like them bringing back a human, and obviously because they miss their mother so much, they want to do this, bring their mother back to life. So they research this, figure out how to do this and get it all set up and do the alchemy ritual to do this, and by doing this they open a gateway of truth, I believe, or it's just a gateway to a different place where they meet the truth, which is sort of like the God in this world, I would say. And it's like, yeah, give us back our mother, and he's like, it doesn't work that way. So basically Al uses his entire body, and Ed uses his leg, and they don't bring back their mother at all. In actual fact, Al is sort of soul is bound to the human creature that they create, and dies relatively quickly, and then Ed is like sacrifices his arm and bounds the soul of Al to a metal suit of armor, sort of thing. So that's sort of the start, and so the show kicks off a few years later, where Edward is now a state alchemist, so he's sort of like employed by the government to be an alchemist, and in times of war and stuff he's called up to sort of help fight in the war and stuff like that, but he's like gets paid and stuff, so they are researching to try and get their bodies back, but also doing set tasks by the government, like investigating corrupt individuals and stuff like that. And they meet other alchemists, Mustang, the flame alchemist, Alex Armstrong, who's this really buff guy who sort of uses muscle alchemy, maybe, I don't know. He's or brawl alchemy. Dr. Marco, who's another important individual, they learn that he knows how to make there's something called the Philosopher's Stone, which is something they believe would give them the power to be able to perform human transformation, or at least get their bodies back or something like that. So, other important alchemists that they meet, they got teacher. There's Kimberly. They don't actually meet him, but he's sort of been in prison for a good amount of time because of his actions in the Ishvaali war, which is basically what happened when they were children, where a group of people who are religious fanatics sort of rebel, and so the state puts them down quite violently, and it's bad, and that creates Scar, who comes in and tries to sort of is seeking vengeance against the alchemists, because they was the real reason why basically the war ended and most of his people was killed. So he wants to go against them and shit, and a lot of events happen where they go against each other, and they sort of start learning the truth, as it were. So they learn that to make a Philosopher's Stone it takes human sacrifice, which is bad, and they meet homunculi. Basically these are the big main villain splits aspects of himself, often referred to as the seven deadly sins of wrath, sloth, pride, lust, envy, greed, and gluttony. Often makes them into these homunculi, calyces, something like that. And these people are these sort of puppeteers, and they've been puppeteering everything for a long time. So basically, the Envy was the one who started the war, the Ishvaali war, and shit like that. And through the show, you learn about their basic plans to use the land, the country they are in, to basically create a massive Philosopher's Stone. So yeah, which is bad, and basically towards the conclusion of the show that basically happens. But through the show it's like them learning about these homunculi and then battling against them and trying to find a way to get their bodies back, and fighting against Scar for a brief period of time in the first the first 2 seasons, and then actually joining up with Scar, and meeting other characters like Mei Chao and Ling Yao, who are these 2 characters from Xing, which is sort of like Chinese, sort of the Chinese world, and they have alchemistry. Basically, it's not alchemy; it's a different form of alchemy, which just focuses on the medical aspect and sort of thing. And they sort of team up with them for a bit and shit. And there's Winry, who's like their childhood friend, who's the automal mechanic for Ed, because obviously he, like I said, he lost his arm and leg to sort of bring back Al and his mother, and they replaced these with a robotic arm and leg, and so Winry's sort of the person who works on them to keep them maintained and stuff. And then there's the Van Hohenheim, who is basically their father, but he also is a immortal being who's a living embodiment of the Philosopher's Stone because of the events in Xerxes, which is basically a country that was before Xing, was like originated before sort of the current state of countries, and basically the father, or the first homunculi, technically, the guy who splits himself up to splits off the 7 deadly sins that I spoke about. He basically does the ritual that he's gonna be using in Armistry, the main country that this is set in. Here in Xerxes first, and that's how he and Hohenheim become immortal beings who have like I think half the population each in them, so I think it's about 500,000 people each inside them, so they have just over 1 million people in Xerxes, and totally wipe it out off the planet. And basically Hohenheim goes off to sea and teaches them the alchemy, and the father is the one who brings alchemy to Armistry and sort of controls alchemy, which is pretty interesting. And you all get in backstory episodes sort of thing throughout the seasons, and they sort of work together. They go up north and meet Olivia Armstrong, and it's the sort of general battling breaks for a bit and team up with some chimeras, like four chimeras and shit, and like through the episodes they sort of defeat homunculi eventually. So I think the first one to go was Lost. It's like Lust. Greed does go, but he comes back as Ling. Like the first Greed, and he gets killed by Father and reabsorbed by him, and then placed into Ling's body. And Ling becomes Greed, but it's like a combination of Ling and Greed, and he sometimes gets control and shit, which is quite an interesting dynamic. So yeah, I think is it Glidning who was defeated next? It might have been Gluttony being eaten by Pride and absorbed by him. So yeah. Then Envy gets killed, or kills herself. then sloth, then wrath, then greed, and pride. Gets defeated, but isn't not necessarily killed. He's getting, because Ed is the one who defeats pride, and so you sort of defeats him and makes him a child again. And that's happened in the sort of end of the season. But yeah, obviously they have other people they go against, like Kimberly, who sort of gets released from prison and to track down Scar, and obviously they team up with Scar and this stuff, and eventually in the last season they go against Father, and it takes a while to defeat him because he's very, very powerful. He does the ritual to make himself sort of God and the perfect being, but they've like got a counter ritual which stops him doing this, which is good. But yeah, generally I really enjoyed the show because it had a very good plot line throughout. Even though it was entirely, I watched the Japanese version with subtitles on instead of the dubbed version. I mean, obviously it's up to you guys. If you watch anime, you can choose sub or dub. I think sub is the better way to do it because obviously it was originally made in Japan, so that's the way you should watch it. Even if I don't understand Japanese, I understand a little bit, but I can because I read very quickly. I can read all the subtitles pretty much and get most of the story through that. But yeah, really enjoyable plot, pretty good animation to it, and really good characters throughout this show, which is what I really latched onto, was the really good characters. Hopefully if I watch more anime, I might be speaking about that later on, depending on when I get around to watching them, and how long it takes me to watch them. I hope I sort of get into that shit, but originally I enjoy different things, so sometimes I might try and check out a show and discover I don't like it because of not a good storyline or not decent characters. I think that's my most stipulation. It's got to have a decent plot and decent characters in it, which I like as well. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to really say about Fullmetal Alchemist. I highly recommend it if you like anime and have not watched the Brotherhood, which I'm pretty sure most people have at this point, or if you want to get into anime. I say that's a good one to start with, because I started with it and I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it's not too far-fetched basically to stuff that we have over here in the West. It's a little bit far-fetched, but you know, it's good, and obviously you can choose sub or dub, so you could watch the English version and fully understand it and comprehend it and enjoy it that way if you so choose. But yeah, so that's all I've got to say about that, and I'll see you guys next time where I discuss something else or talk or something like that. Peace out, Girl Scouts.